Love this song, but we're gonna bring it down. What is up, everybody? My name's Lewis, also known as MrCameraJunkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills and not your gear. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome, one and all. Today we're going to be discussing the Sony A6100, its pros, its cons. I'm really excited about this. Reason why I chose it is because I just finished a video based around the same thing, so I have the topic fresh on the top of my head, and it pressed me once again going through the steps of like making a review for this camera and actually seeing all the capabilities that this Sony A6100 actually has. It's an impressive little machine, especially going back through it. But I usually start with a tip of the day. I don't have one today, so we're gonna get right into the A6100. Just my thoughts right off the bat. The A6100, what an incredible little piece of hardware this camera is. I really started putting it through its paces. Hopefully everything is coming in good and sounding good. I'm really putting it through its paces, and it didn't really falter in any aspect of what I consider content creation and what it's needed for today. So when I was looking into the photography aspects, just looking into the photography, it has a 24.2 megapixel CMOS sensor. It shoots 11 frames per second with autofocus and auto exposure tracking. It has real-time tracking, eye detect autofocus. It does time lapse, it does silent shooting, it does pretty much anything and everything that you want to do when it comes to the photography aspect. And actually, I think I was just looking at the chat and Randall was saying that the APS-C glass is actually cheaper, and that's part of it because there's so many options. And when you want to go into the telephoto side of photography, where it gets even more expensive, with the crop factor already built into the APS-C lenses, you're basically extending each focal length by 1.5, so it's a lot easier to get a 600 millimeter focal length with something in the 400 millimeter range, just because of the boost in the APS-C crop. So there's so many advantages. When we talk video, it does pretty much everything. When it comes to 4K, which is one of the features that its predecessor, the A6000, didn't have, was 4K. It would shoot 1080, I believe 1080 up to 30 frames per second. I don't know if it had 1080 60. Don't quote me on that because I didn't record that much when I had my A6000. And I never shot it in 60 frames per second. So if it did have the feature, I never used it. But yes, when it comes to videos, the A6100 can shoot 4K in 24 and 30 frames a second. One thing that I did want to note, which is something that I noticed by putting it in space, is that there's a little asterisk there. When shooting in 30 frames a second in the A6100, and shooting at 120 frames at 1080 high definition, both of those losing the brain fart. Okay, both of those file formats of like recording the frame rates, they actually don't use the super 35 millimeter. They actually crop in a little bit more, which is a little interesting because you're already dealing with the crop factor, but it looks like it adds like a 1.1 crop factor. And I was looking into the exact amount of additional crop that those two frame rates actually provide, and I wasn't able to find it, but it does look like it just gives it a slight little crop, not too much, but I think that has to do with just getting those frame rates through the processing unit correctly. So with that being said, it shoots 4K 24 frames a second and Super 35, and it shoots it in 30 frames a second with that additional little crop. It's so funny. Aiden here is usually quiet throughout the whole day, but when I go live, that's when he decides to just crank it up and start making some noise. So if you hear him playing in the background, at least you know he's having a blast. So just checking in on him. Okay, so where was I? Oh, talking head videos. Yeah, or basically any video that you're trying to make with this camera. You have that additional crop at the 30 frames a second and at the 120 frames per second in the high definition mode. In high definition, it gives you all of the frame rates that you would want. It will give you 24, 30, 60, and 120 frames. And man, I'll tell you the truth, just the fact that it has 120 frames a second and that you can shoot slow motion and get a decent shot. I've used it a lot, when it comes to making my YouTube videos. So that being said, there's nothing when it comes to the video side that you cannot do with this camera. It also has a touch LCD that allows you to touch to focus and rack focus when you're a solo content creator, which is a very good feature. When it comes to photography, to tell you the truth, I turned that feature off because my nose tends to touch the LCD when I'm looking through the viewfinder, and when that happens, it moves my focus point. So when it comes to photography, and the majority, unless I know that I'm going to be doing a shot with rack focusing, I usually have that feature turned off, but it's available when I want to use it. Now, let's say you were doing exactly what I was just going to mention, like a talking head video like this. Instead of needing monitors and external, monitor, an external monitor connecting to a computer or anything like that to see where you're at in the shot, this has the flip up LCD. Now, we've had this conversation on this live stream plenty, where it actually says, do you prefer the flip out or the flip up screen? And I actually prefer the flip up screen because I do think that it's just more comfortable when it comes to vlogging. That will be coming up in my newest video. And so even when it comes to vlogging, I think this is a great camera. And I actually think that, well, for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, that vlogging with APS-C is, for me, better, because the point of a vlog is to try to keep it as small as possible, even though we're rigging out these cameras to get the highest quality picture and audio. But the APS-C line is still lighter, much lighter than full frame, and to get the focal length that I want, a 24 millimeter is a lot smaller in APS-C than it is in the full frame. So that's why I actually think that this is actually really good for vlogs in particular, and I prefer the flip up screen over the flip out screen. Let's see. Yeah, another thing is that it's part of Sony's E-mount lineup, which is obvious, but Sony has decided to create one mount to rule them all, so to speak. And there's a lot of people who were saying that this mount wasn't big enough for full frame sensors, which I never really saw that as a thing, because they basically adapted the full frame mount from the Minolta. So if you can get full frame on film with that mount, then why wouldn't you be able to do it digitally? But regardless, they proved the world wrong, obviously, when they came out with the new 50mm f1.2. So using the same mount, getting pretty much the best 50mm f1.2 in the market available right now. It's newest released lens for the Sony E-mount lineup. The ability to adapt vintage lenses to the A6000 is just because it's mirrorless. So every mirrorless camera has that ability, but it's something that's also added to this. Give me 1 second. So that, with the ability to adapt, whether it's a Metabones adapter and use, Canon glass, if that's, your thing, because I actually do have my 50mm f1.4 That's a lens that I continuously connect to my Sony cameras, and I actually think that that's one of the many reasons that this camera has impressed me when it comes to the autofocus. You know, I mentioned it, I think, in last week's stream or previous. I think no, last week was Ecamm when I was talking about the Nikon Z9. Yep, the Z9. There's so many different cameras that are coming out right now. I just need to double check that I'm saying the right thing. But yeah, the Nikon Z9, when I mentioned it, that I said for Nikon to stay relevant in today's day and age when it comes to cameras, they just got to get the autofocus. Like, don't worry about the frame rates, don't worry about this, because 90% of the time it's overkill. You know, I mentioned this before. Yeah, I love that this A6100 has 11 frames per second. You know, my A6000 also had it, and when I was using my A6000 for photography, I did 11 frames a second high burst one time for a photo shoot. I did it because it was for a kid, you know, so I was thinking energetic, he's gonna be bouncing around a lot, you know, get the frame rate high, you know, the shutter speed, and also high, you know, frame rate. And I ended up with like 1400 images to cull through, which was so much. It was like I had a motion picture and I was going frame by frame to see which picture, and some of them were so good, and I had like 7 shots that were all incredible, but it was because they were all in that same time span where everything was perfect and I was able to burst off a bunch of shots. So with that being said, I don't recommend that to anyone when it comes to photography, because going through 1400 images is so time consuming when there's such subtle differences between shot and shot when you're at such high frame rates. So yeah, like, yeah, I was really looking into it. The only differences, right, between the A6100, the A6400, and the A6600, because we do have the 3 lines or the 3 tiers of the APS-C when it comes to Sony, is it's plastic build. Now, they did have to like cut cost with certain aspects, but this is the negative parts when it comes to this camera. What are the negatives? The EVF. The EVF is really lackluster. It's a 1.44 million dot electronic viewfinder, and the viewfinder itself, you know, it may not sound like it's bad, but it's just not as good. And the reason why I say it is because I go to Sony's own camera, which I have here, and this is the Sony NEX6. Okay, a much older camera before they got, you know, like the A6000, which was, I believe, the camera that came right after this one, was the one that actually put Sony on the mirrorless like map, so to speak. And this camera here has such a beautiful 2.44 million dot viewfinder, and just that bump, or like that double in the quality, makes such a difference. So I know that Sony has the ability to put this, and I know because that's the viewfinder that's available in the 6600 and the 6400. So both of those cameras have the upgraded electronic viewfinder. They also have the upgraded magnesium alloy body. Now, there's still some differences because the A6400 still has a flash with the magnesium alloy body, but the A6500 now uses the bigger Z-type battery, which gives you like double the battery life on the camera. Also, it has IBIS, internal body image stabilization, and with the IBIS, it actually takes away, I think, just the space and the way they had to fit it into the body. It takes away the flash. So the A6600 excuse me, the A6600 does not have a flash, but it has the magnesium alloy body and the bigger Z-type battery. All of these except the A6100 are weather sealed. So that's pretty much the Sony APS-C lineup in a nutshell. But when it comes to this, I don't really use weather sealing. I would love to have it, don't get me wrong, but I use my A6100 as my shoulder cam, which let me get to it right now. Actually, yeah, let's try this out real quick. Shoulder cam, everything's going right, and this is my A6100 working right there perfectly. And like I said, it's always in studio or in my car, in my hand, and I keep it away from water, so the weather sealing is not the biggest thing. But I would like the magnesium alloy body. This NEX6 has it, and I accidentally dropped it, you know, at a supermarket, and it makes a difference. That body really is so rigid and tough. But these are the advantages of going into the 6400 and the 6600 when it comes to the Sony APS-C line. Another reason why I bring it up is because right now the Sony A6100 just reduced in price. I think it went on sale. It's at $688 I saw today on Amazon from its traditional $758, I believe. So yeah, I think it's like 70, something like 70 or 80 bucks that you can save right now on that camera, which is a good deal, especially with how I'm ranting and raving about how good this camera is. It's got the newer color science, so its skin tones are very realistic. Picture quality is superb, even when it comes to the A6000, which was 2014 camera. So that 24.4 megapixel, and the body style, which is the last thing that I'm gonna harp on, which is, yeah, the body style. I really like the rangefinder, you know, and everybody's saying all their cameras look the same. I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. That's the way I see it. I really like the form factor, and yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. That's my rant when it comes to the pros and cons of the Sony A6100. It's such a great camera, and for the price, when it comes to the, you know, like the ability to enter the Sony ecosystem, because that's one thing that I really didn't touch on, but that Sony has over, from what I was able to record, and this number is really up in the air, I say over 58, close to 60 lenses natively for the E-mount. I've heard that there was more, over 70, and I know that we were just talking about some lenses, the 50mm f1.4, and they also came out with that new trio of the smaller primes, which is the 24, the 40, and the 50, at 2.8, 2.5, and 2.5 f-stops consecutively. So very interesting what Sony is doing, and the fact that they have so many options when it comes to lenses is why I think that Sony's killing it right now. I think you cannot go wrong with Sony, and the colors, you know, what people used to say about Sony colors, I can give it to you. They used to have a really strong green cast and hue on their images, but you had the ability to adjust for that within the camera itself, which is something that I could recommend. I could actually say, I can't show you, but I guess I'll make a short on that or something, on how to actually adjust the color temperatures in the white balance onto the Sony APS-C line to actually get you even closer to natural skin tones when you're using the older cameras. But now let's get to the chat. All right. Well, I would like to say thank you everyone for listening to me rant. Right now I'm using eCam. I'm still new to the eCam side, so I wasn't able to get a countdown. I'm still working on how to get the countdown to work, so that, you know, before I go live, you know, there's a ticker instead of just a name, but working on it. I'm gonna ask you guys, what do you guys think of the scene, of what it looks like? Because I'm trying out some new things. This is something that I thought looked good, so I would like to see your opinion. So let me get to the chat here. Okay, we have Caleb Whitman saying super stoked. MDZ Shots saying hello. All right, look at that. There we go. Yeah, this is the message that it says, Randall was saying, my view is that APS-C cameras have cheaper lenses and better portability. Exactly. Like, look at how small this thing is. And I really go back to this one because this is so small. Like, the profile is so thin. And when I put my pancake lens, the 20mm on that, that just goes into your pocket so easy. And I'm constantly hearing about the portability and the size of how small the Fujifilm cameras are, which I take nothing away from them. I have my X-T1 here, right? But now let me just show you, right? This is a small little compact camera. Nice little camera. Let's compare that. You can hide the entire Sony behind the Fuji. Easy. That's why I stay amazed at how small Sony was able to make this camera. And I keep bringing these two together because this is my next project here. They have very similar sensors. They both have a 16.1 megapixel sensor. This is an X-Trans 2 sensor on the Fuji, which is very accredited, very what's the word that I'm looking for? Well, people love the images that they get off of this sensor comparative to the higher megapixel sensors in the same Fuji line. Everyone loves the X-Trans 2 compared to the X-Trans 3, I believe. But I'm gonna really see where they got that sensor from to see if it's the same one that falls into this NEX6, because I also believe that this camera gives me some really photo or film grain type of pictures that they look very organic, even though they're coming from a digital camera, not like hyper sharpened. So all right, let's see where we're at here. Time to hydrate. How's everyone doing? I just wanted to put that out there. I hope everyone had a great week. Thank you for hanging out here with me. You guys make this like always worthwhile. I can't even tell you how much energy you guys give me, because right now everything that you're seeing is from you. An hour before this I was thinking like, oh, do I need to get a coffee, because I was so just like run down, and then lights, camera, action, and I need hydration, but energy's there. It's always electric. All right. Okay, the A6100 that I own has a dummy battery and 6 portable ones. Great camera, best bang for your buck. Tried one full frame lens and it was fantastic picture quality. Yep, that's these are all the things that I also want to like touch on, which is that thing about like, oh, you're losing light when you use a full frame lens on an APS-C body. And I'm like, and I'm really gonna mess with it, because I'm really gonna see what's the difference in light quality that I'm getting when I use full frame glass on APS-C bodies. But I'm gonna reverse it. I'm gonna see what type of quality of light I get with APS-C glass on a full frame body. Yep, so I'm gonna put my little pancake lens on this camera here, and we're gonna see what it looks like. Especially on this, the R2, the reduction, I still get an 18 megapixel photo file, which is really good comparative to like the A7 III, that when you put APS-C lens you're only getting a 10 megapixel file. But let's not get into all the little nitty-gritties. Okay, Caleb says sounds great. Hopefully that's my audio. How do you like the recorder mic you have? It's the Zoom H5. How do you like it? I'm thinking of getting one. That's why I'm asking. Well, right now I'm not using the H5. Just to tell you right now, I've rigged this thing. It's a boom mic, and I got it just hovering just under the LCD here. I just had it out of frame, and I have that pointed at me directly. That's what I'm using right now with my audio mixer. What I do have is the H5, and I love it. I was using it as my main mic, but we had a little debacle on a live stream, and when I switched to this, I kind of just stuck with it. And now, because it's giving me better noise deflection, I believe, or just better proximity, I've just stayed with it. The H5, I absolutely love it. There's somebody who was here not too long ago, Callie from Chocolate Twist Yoga. When I was mentioning about me doing voiceover work, which that's a whole nother thing that I'm trying to look into, but time is our most precious commodity. Just remember that. Time is our most precious commodity, and man, so I'm not trying to waste time. But when I mentioned about doing the voiceover, she said, yeah, and we just got in contact, and I shot over a voiceover file that I did for her channel to see how that goes. I had fun doing it, and my setup was not this. My setup was using my H5, and the quality that I get off of that mic is just amazing. There is an adapter because it's interchangeable, the tops, and there's an adapter for like a microphone for like this type of setup, because the one that I have is like the general audio, so it has two microphones pointed in either direction. When I put my voice over it, it's kind of like I need to be speaking into either or, because it's designed to get the stereo sound. Because of it, it's not the best for what I'm doing right here, but when it comes to like the proximity effect that I get from that microphone to do the voiceover work, like if I was reading a script or something, oh, it's so nice that and the quality that I get from it, I really like it. I bought mine used, and I got a great deal. Some guy was selling it, and I knew that it was worth a lot more, so I really wasn't sure if I needed it, but I pitched the guy $100 for the whole little kit, and he was like, sure. And I was like, boom, I'll pick it up for $100. I don't know exactly how I'll implement it, but now I ended up using it so much when it comes to me making my own sound effects, my own Foley art for my videos, which I actually do that. Most people probably wouldn't know that, but when it comes to those little sound effects and the little things, there's the ability to get them through websites like Epidemic Sound, which I actually use. The music that you're listening to is from Epidemic Sound, but I make my own sound effects, and that's what I still use. It's simple, it's fast, and the quality that I get from that is amazing. And it also gives you the ability to monitor the audio on the H5 and plug in an external microphone. So even though you're using that and you want to get a different type of microphone, let's say a boom, and you have the ability to connect that through that, it has a 3.5 millimeter jack that also allows you to input the audio and still record it. It's got two XLR, like what are they called? I forget. They're just like double connections, because on top of the XLR, I believe they have the ability to connect a 1/4 inch jack, so that you can use that as well. So it's like a hybrid connection there for XLR and 1/4 inch jack. So it's amazing. The one thing that I say is probably the same thing about the A6100, which is it's a plastic build. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm very careful with my gear, with my equipment. I take care of my stuff, so for that reason, plastic doesn't like scare me, so to speak. Like, I'll buy something that's quality even though it's a plastic build, because I know I'll be able to take care of it. If you know that you're somebody that like drops their gear and stuff like that, then take heedance. You might want to look into something else, because if it's one negative about the Zoom products is that they're all plastic. You won't find the metal thing. All right, Aaron's in the house saying, hey, what's up, buddy? Hi, cool screen. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. I got a couple more. You know what? I should just bring them up right now. Let's see. Okay, I have this one, right? This is the one that I chose. I liked like the grid view that it was giving around the image. But let me see. Let me not mess this up here. Okay, I have this one. Okay, so this is a light purple as well to kind of match the aesthetic. But it's like these floating blocks. Then I have this one, which is supposed to be like bokeh, you know, like bokeh light balls floating around. But you guys let me know. This one just seemed too busy, you know, even though the other one seemed like it would have been more to the eye. This one to me just seemed more distracting, you know. So, but I could be wrong. Let me know. And then I have the computer screen, which is kind of like the intro. I like this one as well. I think I'll stick with this one for a minute, so I'll continue in the chat and see what you guys say about. Let's see what you guys say about the screen. Okay, Scott's saying hi to everyone. Oh yes, look, you know what? Look at what Randall just says. No overheating, no time limit issues on the A6100, which is another thing. Look, I just tried to just skim this, but this could be a 5-hour live stream if I decided to just talk about every aspect of this camera. While I was doing the review and making this video, it's just, I kept going and I'm like, you literally cannot put everything in it. You can't put everything that this camera can do into a video, because it would just be forever long, because there's just so many details. I just kept going back and I'm like, oh, I forgot to mention that. Oh, I didn't. I gotta have to leave that out for. Just can't fit it all in to make it like a cohesive, like flowy type of video, because if not, it's just like an information overload that's just like to your brain. So yeah, like that's how I use it, and that's why I think this is so great also for not only vlogging but live streaming. The fact that if you don't have a capture card, you can take this camera and plug it in directly. Oh man, you know what? Look at this. I forgot that. Look at how everything goes. I just realized right now, a half an hour in, that the AC is still on. Let me turn off the air conditioning. Let's make this a better experience. Oh, here we go. 1 second. The behind the scenes. All right, so there we go. But what I was saying, which was that there's no need for a video capture card. With the Sony web utility, you could actually connect the camera directly into your computer as a webcam and use it that way. Preferably is to connect it via HDMI so that you can plug in. Oh, let's get this on. All right, a little better there. So the ideal thing is to actually connect it via HDMI and then plug in the power to the USB so that you have both connected and you're running like an external dummy battery. So you're giving all of the USB port as far as like just for power, so that it doesn't have to do double duty, and you get a much better, cleaner image out of your HDMI. So it's the best of both worlds. Yeah, no overheating, no nothing. Mario saying hello. I love this. I gotta give it up to Ecamm for those, you know, for so long we've been trying to figure out how to put these messages on the screen and show who's actually saying what. It also helps me read them. It's Okay, so it says, did I miss you talking about the tripoding? Also colorist options. Tripoding it, I guess putting it on the tripod is what you're saying. Yeah, on top of it, it's got every option that you can. And when it comes to the color options, it doesn't have picture profiles, but that's what I get into the video. Like, those are also the nuances. The picture profiles are available in the 6400 and the 6600. This just has what is it, picture settings, but the profiles, S-Log, things like that, that's only available in the 64 and the 6600. I wouldn't mind, because I was kind of like joking around with Terry Warfield through his YouTube channel chat, basically saying like, I wish they can give the S Cinetone to the APS-C line. That would kind of be cool if they were to bring a picture profile in S Cinetone to their APS-C lineup. That would be a game changer. Love the scene and banner too. Thank you. I think it looks nice. I'm actually liking this computer one. It's got like a little bit of a dark thing. It's matching everything. It says, wow, the size is nearly unbelievable. Okay, I'm guessing you're talking about these little cameras that we were talking about. Hopefully I got that right. Okay, so we have, all right, let's see if I can bring this down a little bit. Okay, it says, hey man, I'm a beginner in the game. I want to go for the Sony A6100 with the kit lens. Great choice. Photo and some cinematic natural video. Would it be a good decision? I literally have a video that I'm uploading to YouTube right now and just waiting for it to render and do all of the good things before I post it live about the A6100 and why I think it's the best content creator. I call it the content creator champ, because it doesn't matter what type of content that you're trying to create, it's so versatile that it will just do everything that you want it to do. And that's tough to say when it comes to a camera. But yeah, and then for me personally, bias, I don't care, but I'm letting you know, I prefer the flip up screen on the APS-C lineups compared to flip out screens, especially for this whole aspect. I like the way that it fits in my hands. I like the vertical aspect, how it keeps everything nice and neat. Plus, what nobody says, you understand? Like, everybody's clamoring for these flip out screens yet. The flip out screens break, guys. They break all the time. I follow all of these, YouTubers as well. Peter Lindgren has a video about how his A7S III LCD screen had to be sent back because it was jiggling and it was getting loose. Before Matty Hapoya moved over to Sony, when he was using the Canon EOS R, he had it with a flip screen in his front seat. He accelerated and the camera shifted a little bit, hit the LCD, bye-bye camera, or bye-bye camera LCD. Have to ship it in because he could no longer see himself on his flip screen because he accelerated a little bit and the LCD was flipped out and it took a little bump, and that's all it takes. A little bump in the front seat of your car and your LCD is gone. So these are the things of why I say, like, I prefer certain things. Like, I can say that it's a flip up screen on this APS-C, but that thing is rugged. Like, it is a rugged flip screen that it has fallen with, like from my front seat, which is where I mostly use it in my vehicle. And it could have the flip up screen and it's got this metal rigid frame that is protecting it at all times. So that's all I gotta say about that. There's so many advantages to this. But is it a good decision? Yeah. And then I'm gonna even touch on a little bit more. The fact that it's the interchangeable lens system and that you don't have to go completely native on glass. This is the Sigma 16mm f1.4. You've probably heard about it. So many people talk about this lens. And the reason why is because it is absolutely awesome. The photos and the video that I get off of this in in barely no light is amazing. Amazing. And that's why that's a 1.4 when it comes to the, you know, the f-stop. I'm gonna have to rent the camera. I'm gonna have to rent the camera to do the video that I want to do, so I'm gonna have to invest in doing that. I've been meaning to get in contact with one of these like lens rental companies to see if maybe we could also do something to help the channel, but definitely I'm gonna have to just open that avenue and actually start renting this. I'm gonna probably rent the G Master 24mm f1.4 to match it against the Sigma. I'm gonna use my A6100, which is a 24.2 megapixel, so I'm going to rent a 24 point something megapixel camera from the Sony lineup as well. Mine is a 42, so it can't go head to head, so I'm probably gonna rent an A7 III or an A9, something like that. I'll probably go with an A9 just to mess with it for a while, you know, get a liking for it, or get my hands on it. See, because an A9, that's still a camera that I want to get my hands on. And you know what, I have to correct myself, you know, just actually this, let's rewind a little bit. I have to correct myself. I had mentioned that the A9 carried the FP W50 battery, and it does not. It has the Z battery, which I thought it was going to keep it all in the same type of ecosystem when it comes to lenses and batteries, but I have to correct myself. The A9, even the first one, was the first camera to come out with a Z battery, so I was like, it was a little disappointing because I had so many, but I'm going to eventually have to get into the Z batteries. So let's see which camera I'm gonna, you know, which will be my next Sony camera in the future. It's gonna happen sometime this year. When exactly, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm just starting to budget out right now for my next Sony camera investment. One thing that I'm really thinking about is getting me another A6100. But it won't help me with the comparisons to the full frame to the APS-C. That's the one thing. But I have half a mind of just grabbing another A6100 and calling it a day, and having those three cameras as like my go-to, because I can use the A6100 while I'm talking about the A6100. So, all right. Wow, check this out, guys. This is like from Antarctica. We're being greeted from Antarctica. Like, that's global. That is global. What? Well, Golding, I think that's how you say your name. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you spending time. That is so cool, from Antarctica. I don't know exactly how you get signal out there, but that's cool. Okay, the volume. Okay, Mario says the volume. I thought we were good on the volume. Hopefully that's better. We'll continue. Says something was interfering with your mic. Hopefully it says voiceover work. Hit me up. Yeah. Actually, are you doing voiceover work, or do you need voiceover work? Because yeah, definitely hit me up, or I'll hit you up. I will tell you to DM me on either Instagram or Twitter. I was about to say Facebook, Instagram. Just no. I've been getting a little confused because right now every Instagram message has been popping up on my Facebook, so that's just been throwing me off. But yes, throw me a DM on either Instagram or Twitter. I would probably say Twitter, and so that we can get in contact. Okay, so we have Stinky Pinky 23 says thanks for the info. You're welcome, man. Thanks for hanging out. Says the bokeh would look great with the shot of the camera. I'm not sure exactly which one you're talking about, Oh, I guess like when I do this, the blurred out backgrounds, which that's, you know, there's so many things that I want to talk about, because one of the things that people really talk about lenses, right? Because I'm that guy that says glass before ass, that optics are more important than the camera bodies. That's why I don't have the latest and greatest, but I do invest correctly in the glass that's in front of the lenses, or in front of the sensors that's recording all of this information. But I said that I picked up this lens that I'm using right now, which is the 24-70 f4 for the Sony E-mount system. This is the Zeiss, and I bought this lens as an investment piece to just pick it up at a cheap price and then sell it for more. Or I bought it as part of a kit cheap, and then I was parting it out and just staying with the parts that I wanted to keep to better upgrade my kit. And once I got my hands on this lens, I was like, this is awesome. This is a great lens. And if you were to look for information about this lens, you're gonna hear not too many good things about it. You're gonna hear like a lot of like negativity, saying like, oh, this is not the sharpest corner to corner, and so on and so forth. You tell me. I've always loved the images that I get from it, but now I'm gonna go into this, like, you know, focus mode, right? Into this, and show you how little what we call focus breathing happens with this lens. It's amazing. Like, none of the image, as far as like side to side, like what we're talking about here, right, from where my hand is to here, right, your image, this right here, from here to here, what you're seeing doesn't go wider or thinner when it focuses in close, or it goes back to me. So one of the major things that makes a good lens, or a lens good for video work comparative to photography, is that it doesn't have focus breathing. And the more I test this lens, the more it impresses me. That's why I use it for this more than anything. It has little to none focus breathing, so when it's focusing on different things throughout the shots, it's not jarring as far as like changing your field of view and perspective. Randall says he likes the grid lines. Let's go back to it. Boom. Yeah, I like that one too. That one it worked well. Oh, the real Raymond's in the house, saying, hi Lewis, I think the Sony A6100 can work as a starter camera if it has a stabilized lens. It's probably underrated as a studio camera, since you can buy few for different angles without spending $10,000. Yes, and that's what I agree. Now, the Sigma 16mm f1.4 is not a stabilized lens. So even though I love the images for video and for photography is great, you know, increase the shutter speed a little bit and you won't have any motion blur on it, and it's such a fast lens that allows so much light that you get nice sharp images, because you're still getting a high quality and low ISO when it comes to video or photography. Now, the kit lens is an image stabilized lens. That's why I highly recommend it as well, because with that, for video, is also an underrated lens for video. And that's where I think Sony really separates themselves compared to the competition when it comes to ease of use. Now, I think professionals, which when it comes to videography or cinematography, I'm not a professional. I'm not shooting 12-bit color, 10-bit color. I'm not doing color grading, things like that. I'm a photographer, and I'm just telling you from my experience. But some of them prefer different cameras because of the codecs that they're getting from the cameras, whether it be Panasonic, so on and so forth. But when it comes to just like ease of use and the best quality when it comes to image stabilization, Sony's system is legit. Now, another lens, let me bring it up, that you might be interested in, which is really good for the APS-C lineup, is this little guy right here. This is the 10-18 f4. That 10mm gives you a 15mm like fisheye equivalent, I can't tell you how awesomely wide that is, even though it's for, like, let's say you want to use it for vlogging. For me, for my taste personally, it's a bit too wide. Now, I was mentioning before that the 4K 30 gives an additional crop, you know, to the Super 35 off of the APS-C lens. So the 10 then becomes kind of like a 12 millimeter right off the bat. And then if you just increase it a little bit to like 14, it gives you like that 16 millimeter equivalent, just roughly, just eyeballing it, not giving you the exact numbers, because I couldn't find the exact crop addition into the 4K 30. So with that, I think if you want to shoot the 30 frames per second in the 4K, this lens is probably ideal. And then on top of that, it is image stabilized with really good OSS. So this lens is like, and then here in South Florida, we get so much sunlight. So for daytime recording, you're going to most likely need to put a ND filter of some sort to just stop down the light anyway. So definitely worth it. F4 would be more than enough when it comes to, you know, like bokeh, even in this small form factor. I know because I've done it myself. You know, you put a nice ND filter on it, control the light, and make sure that you stay at F4, and the sunlight or daylight is plenty of light to give background blur in any occasion. But definitely I would say image stabilized with the A6100, whether it's the kit lens or something like that. Definitely it makes all the difference. Sony invented the BOSS system. The BOSS image stabilization system for like their cinema cameras, and I think that's a great name. I think they're BOSS. Okay, so Mario says, let's see if I can get this. In my opinion, APS-C cameras confuse new buyers that go for the price but don't know or understand what smaller sensor means. I would strike them out. APS-C is not even in the corrector. I didn't get to read the last one. APS-C is not even in the corrector I'm using here. I apologize. I'm not understanding exactly what that was saying. Let's see if the next comment helped. Nothing will happen when you use a crop lens on a full frame sensor. You would just not fill the sensor and you get a round image that could later crop in Lightroom. No, I do understand that, Mario. What I'm saying is not that. What I wanted to see was the loss of light. Because when people go to technical and they start saying like, oh, you know what, an f1.4, right, on a full frame f1.4 is going to give you more shallower depth of field than an f1.4 that's specifically designed for APS-C. So I want to put all the images together and then go side by side, because the loss of light is not in the quality of your bokeh or your background blur. The loss of light is literally just the amount of light you're able to gather because of the amount of sensor size difference. And that's where I also think people are confusing all of these numbers. They're saying, oh, you're losing stops of light. Not really, because it all has to do with the point of where that's gonna hit the actual sensor. But I digress, because I can get very technical when it comes to the amount of light, as like the way cinema cameras grade the light, you know, in t-stops, which is not what the lens is producing, but what actually, not what the lens could say it'll do, but the amount of light that it actually produces outside of the element and it's hitting the actual sensor or film. What's up? Kyle in the house. I don't know if you're still here. If you are, thanks for hanging out, Kyle. This is super cool for having you stop by. Yo, I see the A6100. I clicky. The A7 III and the A7 IV will have the Z battery. Yep. The Ace, exactly that, but the A9 that I was interested in, like of saying like my next potential camera, I was thinking that I use the old battery style that I'm still using on the A7R2 and the A6100. So I was literally just saying like, hey, you know, maybe I could just continue to use the older type batteries because I have so many of them. If I buy the A9, I'm automatically in the Z battery game. So no harm, no foul. It says Legacy Visual Media says you're probably going to be able to grab the Sony A7 IV. I'm not going to go there because I actually do things on a budget, you know, like I don't want to, you know, if it's a possibility and it's available, hey, more power to me, you know, the A7 IV. But it all depends, because if the A7 IV, which is potentially to be coming out soon, if they do the boost in the megapixels, you know, and they go from 24, which is what a lot of people want, to like maybe 32, which I think would be the next step in Sony's like megapixel jumps, the way that they you know, progress. But that's just because the first Sony A7 was a 24, and the first Sony A7R was a 32 megapixel. So I think they'll be using a similar sensor like that into the A7 standard series. And if they do that megapixel jump, then I really can't use that camera for what I want to do as far as the comparisons. I just want to keep everything in the same megapixel range so that we can just see the quality. But that's just for testing. You know, if I'm able to grab that camera for myself and still rent the ones that I need in 24 megapixel, I like the way you're thinking. Okay, Kyle says, or the A7C. Exactly. Yep. That's, you know, I wasn't even thinking about the A7C. And I do love the form factor. But you see, like, that's where I'm a little like, oh, I'm a little hurt, a little. The rumors that we got before the A7C came out, the rumors were that it was basically like an A6000 series with the flip up screen and a full frame. You didn't even have to give me IBIS. You take away the IBIS, give me a standard 24 megapixel fixed, you know, sensor with a flip LCD and make it compact like an A6600. Sold. I'm buying 3 of those. Like, oh, that would have been awesome. That's what I wanted. It was the AC. Oh, the AC. Mario was saying about the audio. My apologies. Yeah, I could absolutely, and that's the whole thing. I'm over here listening to like the music and getting a feedback through my monitor. Just, hey, happens. But I'm glad that I was able to fix that out for you. Okay. As long as dear Aiden is in the room, I don't mind what frame we use. Aiden's hanging out. That's my little guy. He got a good nap today, so he's gonna be awake the duration of this live stream. He's just chilling. Maury says, never put anything you care about in front of the passenger seat. It says that's a place for the wife. Oh man. I'm not gonna put that one up again, but that was hilarious. Thank you, sir. Sly is in the house. Happy Saturday, Lewis, and all lovely people. Hope everyone's weekend is going well. I hope your weekend is going well. Mine's going awesome. I'm hanging out with so many cool people. All my Camera Junkie fam here, hanging out on the live stream. Look, there you go. I'm just gonna leave that there. Corrector, sorry, spell checked. No, but I got the gist of your message with the APS-C. It says I just bought the Sony A6100. Well, confirmation bias is a mother, but I'm definitely gonna tell you, you got a hell of a deal. You're gonna be super happy with that camera. Every time I use it, I'm super impressed. I'm always going back to it. Unless it's like a paid gig that I'm doing, that I always say, unless I'm going to be paid, I want to bring the highest form of quality that I will use for portraits, which is my R series camera. Besides that, the R sits on this stand here, connected to be ready for live streaming whenever I'm ready to go live. My A6100 comes down and it's with me all day, every day. I usually, I have been putting a little wear and tear on this guy, on the Fuji X-T1, and that's mostly so that I can compare that lens and the 16 megapixel sensor to this A6100. The NEX6 16.1 megapixel sensor and the kit lens. I'm gonna do a kit lens comparison. That was loud, Aiden. That was like hella loud. Okay, depth of field will not change on the crop lenses. The lens does not know what sensor it's resolving. Exactly. I love all lenses, crop included. Mario saying hi to Sly. It says, I didn't buy the kit lens. I just have the 50mm 1.8 APS-C one from Sony. Okay, then that's cool. That's a great lens. And if you have the APS-C one, that means that it's optically stabilized. So that's a great job comparative to their full frame that isn't. So that'll give you some leniency. And when the 1.8, you can get some really good low light. It's a 50mm. So just so if nobody's ever told you, or if I don't know if you've used the lens before, if you have, then you're familiar with this, but it's gonna give you a 75mm equivalent. Like I use 50mm lenses on APS-C for portrait work, and it works awesome. But when it comes to like video or like selfie stuff, it's really tight because it's pretty zoomed in when it comes to like handheld, arm's length type of photography or video. But the OSS being optically stabilized will definitely give you even sharper images, better quality with lower ISO with the portraits outdoors, 1.8, even in low light. It's a great lens. That's the whole thing. Sony makes really good glass. Okay, let's see what it says here. It says, Sly, I love to make people smile. It works 1% of the time. The other times, I need kid shoes to run away before getting punched. You're on a roll, Mario. Well, your 1% works pretty well with me, just as long as I'm able to read it correctly. I got the A7C and love it. LOL, I'm sure you're not a fan of the flippy screen. I have the A6600 as well, but that full frame is lovely. Now, listen, I understand. I prefer the flip up screen. Now, this is the whole thing. They weren't gonna put the flip up screen on that camera on the A7C, and I understand why. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, yeah, they didn't just bring out a vlogging camera. That's what most people forget. When that thing came out, it came out with a vlogging microphone as well. It came with a multimedia interface microphone that plugged right in, and because it was utilizing the connection of the hot shoe and not an external microphone like off to the side, then I understand that they put the flip screen for that and for the A7S III because it all came out at the same time, kind of like their vlogging like series, and now you have these additional microphones that are added to it. So there's no way that Sony was gonna put all of this R&D on a microphone and then throw that or throw an LCD behind their new microphone. I understood it. Now, like I said, I was happy with just the cameras because I'm happy with that aspect, but in all sincerity, I think that if I were to get the A6600, I wouldn't even, you know, mind it not being full frame. I love my A6100, so everything that I would say hypothetically I'd be complaining about is really already there in the A6600, you know, and that's just speaking in the truth. But would I've loved a full frame in that? Yeah, even if they make it this year, I honestly tell you, make the A7. Yeah, like I said, the A7, the original A7, no IBIS, 24 megapixel full frame, slow AF, autofocus. Slow autofocus, right? Like, it doesn't even have the eye tracking autofocus. Like, I know that the new one will, but I'm just saying, like, even if you just dumb it down, okay, and have it just be in the small form factor flip up screen, I think they would have sold that thing like hotcakes. I think every vlogger would have just had that full frame camera and it would have been it. Now, I haven't used an A7C, and the one thing that I hear is that it's basically the same thing as this one. Like, the EVF is not the greatest, but if they come out with an A7C Mark II with the upgraded EVF and a couple of little things. Another thing that most people don't like about the camera is that it has the one card slot. I put my 2 cents in here, so Sony, if you're listening, don't forget about micro SD cards. They're this small. You can put them just about anywhere. You can have one card slot over here, the other one over there. Throw in like a backup micro SD for redundancy. It doesn't even have to like record to it initially, but as soon as you like the camera goes into standby, it starts backing up, redundancy back up to a secondary micro SD card. It only makes sense, right? All right, Nano's in the house. How you doing, Tech for Your Needs? Luis, how are you, sir? Welcome. Best way to cap off an East Coast Saturday night. Appreciate your time and info, brother. Thank you for hanging out, man. Super happy to have you here, man. Mario saying thanks to Sly, saying that I think she had mentioned this. You always make me smile, Mario. So Mario's thanking her for that. Kyle says, you check out any Viltrox lenses? Been testing myself. Love that we have yet another manufacturers making autofocus lenses for Sony. 23mm f1.4 is my favorite of the 3 so far. Yeah, that's the one with the gold lenses. I need to start renting stuff and getting into it. I actually purchased a lens. My last lens purchase was eBay purchase. And let me show you, where did I put it? It's for the Fuji camera. Okay. And I'm going to bring this up to you, Kyle, because I know you have some for the Sony of this brand, Pergear. Let me see if we could focus on that. Pergear. So I was able to grab this for the Fuji Film X mount. It's a 35mm f1.6. I won it on an auction. I think I paid like $40, something like that. Now, I was very happy with the kit lens images that I was getting from the Fuji, the 15 to 45mm. And I was mostly impressed with the proximity, how close I can get to a subject, almost like macro, like within 3 or 4 centimeters of the subject, and still get in focus with this 15mm off the Fuji. But in all sincerity, the quality of the images that I got off of this Pergear, just I guess being a prime lens and this Fuji X Trans 2 sensor, I was really happy. I was shocked more than anything. I was like, really? And I really didn't take any pictures of quality to show you. I took pictures of Bruce over here, as always, or this guy, Mr. Incredible. Boom. He'll be making a cameo in my next video. Yeah, so if it's not that, like, I haven't really taken any quality pictures, but that lens definitely piqued my interest. Like, it really surprised me. Really surprised me. It was to the point that I was like, you know what? I gotta make these comparison videos. But yeah, Viltrox. I want to check out those lenses, man. Maybe you can mention to me if those were for full frame or designed specifically for APS-C. Because I believe if I saw a video, I think it was yours. All right, Kippy's in the house. Says, hey there, Lewis and everyone, just popping in. Thanks for stopping by, man. It is 1 p.m. over there where you're at, I believe. I don't know if you guys do time changes or anything like that. So, all right, Chocolate Twist Yoga's in the house. Hey, Lewis, fashionably late to the party. The A6100 is your favorite, I believe. Yeah, like I just stay amazed at everything that this camera can do. It's just so good. Says, wow, thank you. I didn't know that. I'm not sure exactly what I said, but you're welcome. You're very welcome. All right, so Nano here says, what is one lesson you have learned operating a camera's most valuable for a newbie? Oh, I mentioned this all the time, which is a great question. Like, what's the one thing that changed like photography and video for me that I was like, oh, that's what it's about? White balance. Learn light. Everyone, you know, and I'm not taking it away from anyone, but everyone says like, oh, buy lights, right? Tommy Calloway, that's his thing, you know, and more power to him. I love Tommy. But before you buy lights, I think you need to learn light. Not lights, but light itself. And learn white balance and temperature shifts and what's the difference between 4400 Kelvin and 6600 Kelvin. And when you're able to notice those things with your eyes, then you'll be able to walk into pretty much any scenario and judge the color temperature, even though you have mixed light. Because that's the hardest thing, and especially when it comes to photography. When you're doing photography and you're trying to get portraits and you're trying to get skin tones correct, you need to understand the light, because you could be getting incandescent over here, you can be getting like LED over there. Oh, knocked into my camera. And when you have different temperatures and different types and even different brands of lights mixing into one environment, you need to know how to adjust for the white balance so that your images are not thrown off every single time. And you cannot leave your camera to auto white balance, because the difference from moving the camera from here to here will go from like I said, from a tungsten to an LED, and the images will be completely different. So when it comes to lessons that I think that a newbie should learn, which is rarely talked about because it's not the gear, you know, everyone wants to talk about, oh, what lens you're using or what camera. And hey, I'm a camera junkie, I'm here. But the biggest difference for me was white balance, because once you learn white balance, then you realize that the brand really doesn't matter. the brand of camera, like the camera itself, just becomes an extension of you, and you not an extension of it. And that's where the difference comes into your photography. And I remember vividly when I was able to, like, when it clicked, you know, when you get that moment and it starts working correctly, and you show your images for critique, and people think that you've upgraded your gear. Oh, did you get a new camera? Did you get a new lens? And I'm like, nope, same old stuff. I just figured it out. So if anything, I would say, great question, Nano. Most valuable lesson for a newbie: white balance. Learn white balance. All right, so Mario saying tech free. Learn how to enjoy manual mode. Don't be afraid of it. That's a great tip too. But manual mode, I would say, yeah, manual mode, white balance, manual mode. Learn your Ks, learn Kelvin, Ooh, that should be a t-shirt, right? It says, I know Kelvin. I like that. I like that. Let me know what you guys think. A simple t-shirt. I know Kelvin. Like if it's a dude. Like, you know Kelvin? I know Kelvin. I know Kelvin. All right. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. How about you? Oh, I should put it up there, right? So that you guys could see what I'm saying. Okay, Mike. Hopefully everything's coming through good. Because my computer's just telling me that my RAM is almost full. But we march on. Let's say micro SD like on the outside of a camera. How? Because yeah, I have an SD slot is kind of risky for client jobs. No, that's actually what I was saying, that they didn't put that in. So if Sony's listening to me, right? If you have a Sony A7C Mark II in the works, you don't have to go to, let me say that correctly, you don't have to choose to select only one card slot or to go into 2 full-size card slots. See, that's where I say, like, why are we neglecting completely the micro SD? Now, whenever somebody buys a $1,200 drone, right? They buy a Mavic Pro and they're gonna go get drone shots. Are they using a full-size SD card? No, they're using a micro SD, a little thing like this. And they're still able to shoot all the frame rates. They're able to shoot all the qualities of raw and, you know, like color grades and everything onto that little thing. Yeah, it might be a little bit slower than a full size, absolutely, but give yourself the option. Like the Canon R5 right now has 2 card slots, one of them being the US H2 card slot for standard SD, and the other one is that express one. It shoots the highest frame rates in the express one, and then does everything like redundancy. So it'll fill up the buffer, and the buffer shooting everything, dumping everything to the high speed card, and then when it's like idle, it's when it will start copying over to the secondary card. Why can't you do that on a micro SD? And you can fit a micro SD pretty much anywhere. That's what I'm saying. So why are we neglecting this technology that we have at our disposal, especially for like these smaller APS-C cameras? Like, wouldn't it be great that the A6100, that people say like, I would use it for professional, but you know, like just the 1 card slot. Give it a secondary card slot and let it be a micro SD for redundancy. Just redundancy. It's gonna make a secondary copy, kind of like a server, you know, creating a backup of your information every night when you're sleeping, and the camera is doing all the work when you're not taking photos. When it's just sitting there and it's got nothing in the buffer, it'll start transferring the data from the main card to the secondary card while you wait. It's a great idea. Sony, pick it up. That one's free. Okay, get it get it into the new cameras and we're good. All right. And that's another thing that I was having a conversation. I forgot where. I think it was on Twitter or something. Like, fingers crossed that some of these new cameras are also APS-C, because I believe, if I'm correct, that Sony's still to announce 3 more cameras this year. One of them probably going to be the A7R4. So if that's saying, they're saying we still got a 50-50 shot that one of the 2 remaining cameras that Sony could announce, and not produce, but just announce this year, be an APS-C. All right, so Luis is saying, yes, I'm all over manual mode. All right, Kyle says, Per Gear stuff is great. Hit me up. I may have lenses for you. Also, the Viltrox lenses are APS-C 24, 1.4, 33, 1.4, and 56, 1.4. Nice. Gotta definitely take a look at that, because if they're for the APS-C, then that is a nice setup. Excuse me. Yeah, but I've been putting some things into place so that I can really hit the gas with my channel, get things going. I read that book, The YouTube Formula, from Daryl Leaves. A lot of great information. So just a couple of shifts, kind of like you're in a manual car, kind of you have to downshift before you can upshift again, so it's just kind of move things into a different direction. But I really, how I'm taking things serious this year, definitely a lot of things coming up in the works. So definitely get in contact with you, Kyle. All right, Peter Gregg in the house. Saying hi, Lewis. Hi, all. Hi. And hi to Aiden. Lewis, if you want to fix the chat positioning now while you're live, call me on the phone. If not, no problem. I'm gonna have to call you on another time. I'm gonna fix the position on it, but there's a lot of things that I wanna get a little list and not just fix this one thing, because I just want to pick your brain. I want to check out the countdown timer and a couple of other things like that that I know you're more familiar with. Plus, if you haven't heard, Peter, there's a new the beta is going to be coming out of beta for the eCam, and they're saying that there's so many new, like, incredibly great features added to this program, and I'm impressed with everything that I can do with it so far. So I just can't wait to see what else is coming down the pipe with the eCam. It says it's easy to do, don't be afraid. We try one click, if it doesn't work, we abandon. Well, if you can let me know, I could, I think one thing that I did in another stream was that I displayed the entire screen, and then maybe we can fix it. But if it's one click, I think we're gonna get it. Let me see where I am with the chat. Okay, so Mario's saying hi to Peter. Peter's saying hello back. Okay, so Mr. Camera, do a live voice chat with Peter. Oh, I don't think I have that set up. I wouldn't know how to bring in the phone. Because what I want to do with Peter is I want to get him like in the chat like a Skype, but through eCam he'll just be able to log in with his camera right from his setup. So that's what I'm thinking, have Peter like this, put it side by side right there. Okay, so look at what Mario says. It says exactly white balance and manual mode. Yes, white balance was such a game changer for me, and I'm just saying for me. Scott Rogers in the house. How you doing, sir? If I ever have a son, I think I will name him Kelvin. You gotta make those shirts, man. You gotta make those shirts. I know Kelvin. I love Kelvin, or I know Kelvin. Go for it. Oh yeah, that's definitely going on my Teespring. And you know what? It's funny that Kyle is in the chat today, because Kyle was actually, it was one of his videos. Or was it a live stream? I don't remember. But I think it was a live stream that I mentioned my catchphrase, the glass before ass. And he right away was like, that needs to be on a t-shirt. I think it was a comment on one of his videos. And he's like, that needs to be on a t-shirt. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That needs to be on a t-shirt. And it is. Now you can find it on my Teespring store, glass before ass. All right, so Sly says dash cams utilize micro SD cards. Seems only natural for cameras to adopt the technology. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is like it's being neglected completely. Now I do understand that for the newer cameras, and you're talking about 30 frames a second, like they're not gonna. But if we're talking about older technology on older cameras, like I think that would be such a game changer, and so many people would appreciate that. The fact that you have a redundancy backup system in your camera that you spent so much money on. Says Sony, please listen to Mr. Camera Junkie micro SD request. I got some good ideas, man. I my mind works that way. Like, I have an idea, like for Canon, right? For the ultimate hybrid camera, like they can make this one DSLR body that's also mirrorless to like just crush the game. The fact that they can put mirrorless or like DSLR lenses on it and utilize it both ways, and there's a way to just, I know we have technology to do so much. Now, how much that camera will cost to actually do it, I don't know, but if Olympus is selling a camera for $10,000, I think that they can put a $10,000 mirrorless / DSLR hybrid type of, you know, in a 1DX Mark III type body, you know, like a full size body, but that literally does everything. Like, do you want it to be a DSLR? It's a DSLR. Do you want it to be mirrorless? It's a mirrorless. Do you want it to, like, anything that you want it to do, and it's got everything in it, and it can be done with the idea that I have in my mind. So, but thank you for that. I like that. Listen to the micro SD request. Hey man, if they listen to Tony Northrup and all these guys, I'm putting my 2 cents in. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting my 2 cents in, and I hope somebody's listening and we can get some changes that benefit everybody. So it says, I think that's a great idea as a backup card, micro SD card internally. Yeah, and you can fit it pretty much anywhere in the same spot as the, you know, standard SD card, whichever one that you're using. And I think it was just a great idea when it hit me. I'm like, why aren't they using it? It says, if redundant is when it is the free time, then to do this the way is... Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading this correct. If redundant is when it has the free time to do it, is the way to doing it, then it's not redundant. Its buffer dies when the camera dies. I could be correct. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it's still a backup. Kippy is saying hi to Peter. Boom. There you go. Okay, to clarify, camera manual mode. The M on the camera, not the manual mode you're all thinking about. No, I think we were talking about it, like white balance and manual mode, where you control shutter, aperture, and everything. That's another thing, like people are afraid of older cameras. I like older cameras, like for example, this NEX6. When you go into manual mode, it really goes into manual mode. It goes into Canon 5D Classic manual mode, meaning even the ISO is no longer auto. So when you go into manual mode on this NEX6, it is full manual. You have to adjust, excuse me. But yes, it goes into full manual mode, and you actually have to adjust your ISO with every shot, which is why if you have to do that, if that's one step that you have to do to correct exposure in every single shot, that's photography 101. I would agree. I think that's the best thing that you could do when it comes to like learning photography for yourself. Put it in manual mode and learn it. Force yourself. Oh, it's a joke. The other manual mode is in my car. I'm over here getting serious and Mario's busting jokes. Okay, so Peter's saying hi to Kip. Okay, Peter Greg, did you bring some cookies or brownies tonight? Oh, brought some cookies to the chat. He says, nope, I ate them. There we go. He says, no, they're very good. Let's see where we're at here. This is the question. All types of removable media are obsolete. There are much faster and reliable systems now. It's just marketing legacy issue. All you can do with a card, you can do much better with internal memory. Yeah, you can, but now the one thing about the internal memory comparative to removable media is when it fills up. That's just it. Like, that's the only thing. Like, sometimes, right? And I'm just speaking for myself. Sometimes I'm taking photos, I'm shooting videos, I'm doing everything, and I fill up my cards and I haven't had time to dump that information out. I don't want to delete anything. I'd rather purchase a new SD card, pop it in there, and keep going, comparative to having something fill up and then me feeling like, oh, I don't want to delete these files and I have no way of offloading them right now yet. That's it. That's all it takes. And you get to use your camera again with a new, SD card. That's for the internal and saying it as its main. If it's the backup, but it's the same thing. If I know that I have 2 card slots, one of them being micro and one of them being full size, and I'm gonna do a shoot, when I go to my Amazon cart to buy new memory cards, I'm gonna buy the pair. I'm gonna buy the full size and the micro, matching in capacity. Boom. That's it. Excuse me. Randall is giving a thumbs up. I'm just gonna move on from that one, okay, Mario? Your hybrid DSLR mirrorless camera is called, I can't even say that, Pelisal mirror? Have no idea other than size that they don't do it. I don't know if I know I didn't say that right, but I'm gonna have to hear that word. Pellicle mirror? Not sure, but I will continue. Says my Englishes are terrible today. Sorry. What is English? Okay, it says, oh, it changed my Mario to Maria. Can't take the credit for that though. Okay. It says Sony should bring the NEX7 on again with those nice, not printed dials. I will do it full frame and IBIS. That would be interesting. If they do something like that, like a full frame NEX7, I love this form factor. I just do. I love the bodies of the Sonys. Oh wow, I've reached the end of the chat. We're an hour and a half into this. Wow, the time has flown by. Okay, well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna finish it off here. Peter, if you're still available, what I'm gonna do is actually, let me see. Would you be able to call me right now, Peter, to see if we can do this chat thing? Because we can do it right away to see if we can give it that one shot while I have you on the phone. We can see what we can do. I know there's a bit of a delay, but I have my phone right here. Let me know if you can give me a call to see if we can take care of this real quick. But if not, then I'm already going to start saying thank you to everyone for hanging out. I appreciate you hanging out here with me and spending your most precious commodity, which is your time, with me. It's super, super highly appreciated. Okay, so Peter says he's calling me now. Okay, so let's see. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. We're going to see if we can get this chat thing fixed. One thing at a time. It says put me on speakerphone. Okay. And we're waiting. Look at all the delays. That goes to show you. Because it's probably like an 8-second delay before I even see it. And then God knows how long till you guys actually get it. Alright, we got 12 thumbs up. Hey, if you haven't done it already, thank you. If you want to help me support my coffee addiction, you could always buy me a coffee. Oh, he says, you call me, I don't have your number. Let's see this. Oh, I love this song. Okay, I'm testing out before I put it on speaker. This is live. You can't get more live than this, right? Okay. I have 2 numbers. I'm calling the second number now. Okay.
All right, I'm going to mute the stream. Otherwise, it's just going to backbeat. So you can hear me on your telephone, and I can hear you directly in your phone.
Okay.
Okay, so the camera that you're on's got a name under the scenes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Bring up the largest chat. Like Kyle had a pretty good one in size. Mario had a pretty good one in size. And put it up on the screen.
Okay, let's see. Like so, right?
Okay, I can't see it, so you just have to say, yes, I did it.
Okay, okay. I thought you were looking. Okay, yeah, it's on there.
I am looking, Lewis, but it's got a delay, so I can't.
Okay,
I won't
okay.
see it for 45, 50 seconds. So just say,
Wow,
yeah,
it's got that much of a delay. Okay, so yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you when it pops up, just so you know how long the delay is. You know when you did it. I'll let you know when I can actually see it live.
Okay.
And I still can't see it live.
So what? When you do see it, what am I going to be doing?
It just came up. Okay, now what I want you to do is move it left and right slowly, and you'll see a yellow line pop up. It'll tell you it's centerized.
Yes,
right.
the blue. It's a blue line for me, but yes.
Okay, blue line. Yeah, it might be blue. You're right. Okay.
Okay, so it's centered.
Right. Okay, so now put it back up.
Okay.
Okay. Now look where your camera is in the scenes. Okay, and over to the right, you'll see a little lock. Click it so the lock comes on.
Okay, it's open now. The lock is open.
Okay. No, you want the lock closed. You want it to be locked.
Okay, so I lock it.
Okay, that's it. Just put it. No, don't move it after.
Okay, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing it. I forgot. I'm looking at a delay. Okay. All right. So get rid of that one and go to the next one, and it should be right where it belongs.
Nope.
Is it confirm it? Is it true or not true?
It's not true. So just to let you know, that did not fix it. I clicked yours, and you're off to the left. It could be that maybe I have to do that for every person the first time that they do it. And I think if you were to send another message now that I've centered you, I think it will come in centered. But I think the first time that I click on anybody's avatar, the first time, I think that's what's going on.
Okay, I'll send you a message now. Let's see how long that takes to get
Okay, I got it now, and now I'm putting it on screen. And yeah, you're more centered. Still not 100%. But still, like I said, I'm gonna figure stuff out. I'm just gonna be giving you a call, but thank you for getting on the chat with me real quick and trying to see if we could figure this out. I wish you a good night. Oh, excuse me. No, everybody's listening to you. You were just
okay.
on here, so yeah. No, I was just coughing because dry voice. But yeah, but just thank you, and yeah. Now I'm gonna be closing out the chat. So have a great night. All right,
Okay.
and everyone as
if
well.
If you want to call me again, like within 5 minutes or so after you're done, since you can do that if you want.
Okay, I'll see about doing that. Post live stream. So there we go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Talk to you soon. All right, everyone. Okay, so Sly says, I'm finally a centerfold. I'm not sure what that means. But you're here, and thank you for hanging out. But everyone, thanks for hanging out with me. Hopefully you were informed with something that you didn't know. I try to be of value as much as possible. But I appreciate you guys just hanging out, even though we just, shoot the breeze. Because one live stream, we ended up talking about desserts and the differences between, carrot cake or what was it, frosting and cream cheese frosting. So we get into a little bit of everything here, but it's always depending on what you guys bring to the table. So I appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Thanks for spending your time here with me. I wish you all the best in this following week. Kyle, if you're still there, I'm going to be getting in contact with you shortly within this week to see what we can get into. And everyone, thank you for hanging out. I just want to hit the air horns one last time. That's for everyone here. Aaron, I know you were in the chat, but I didn't really have a reason to hit Arnold, but that's still for you. And everyone, have a great night. Stay safe. See you next week, 11:55 p.m. Eastern Time, as always, the Camera Junkie live stream, where I remind you to upgrade your skills and not your gear. But till then, be safe, and I will see everyone next time. Oh, there you go. Boom.